Maybe you've heard about Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill has a methodology called the Mastermind principle, which brings together people to solve problems. And with practical application, it can be a way to increase the size of your business, to grow your prosperity, to solve meaningful issues, and to ultimately produce results. I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations, and I want to share with you this methodology that I've used over the years and continue to use today that brings together the right resources to create the results that you're looking for. And it's a great way to serve your clients, a great way to build an audience, and ultimately an overall high value activity. And this concept has to do with recognizing the needs of your audience and ultimately finding ways to bring people together into a private group or mastermind to solve those issues. Now, in full disclosure, I operate 4 masterminds. I'm going to share with you what those masterminds are, and I'm going to share with you how they work, and I'll also give you a practical example. I'll start with the practical example because it's most illustrative about how this kind of thing doesn't require any special skills. It doesn't require any special money or resources. It's something you can do basically starting from nothing. Now, this particular group that I'm going to describe, I am not going to describe the specifics of the group because the most powerful and important thing you must understand is that these groups are for the individuals in the group. Now, I will disclose the specifics of the groups that I have and operate, but this particular group was developed, it only has 10 members, and it was developed specifically to solve a problem of food security and to solve the problem of clean water and to solve the problem of consistent food. So food security by itself is not just being able to have meals to eat, but it has to do with community development. And then when we talk about specific foods, we're talking about the health and biology connection that makes behaviors change so that they can have good quality foods. Because see, we can solve problems of food insecurity by putting in a new dollar store or just eating rice. That doesn't solve the problem of health and nutrition. And so once you understand these 3 things, and that this is a private group, this will make more sense. So I have a newsletter called Prosperity Homestead where we talk about permaculture and getting outdoors and managing land. From time to time, large groups of individuals from developing nations or from people who have had a natural disaster will reach out to me and say, "Hey, can you help us with such and such?" And so had 3 individuals reach out to me that happened to be all in the same geographic region, which had some floods recently. And they reached out to me a couple months ago in general about poverty in their area, about not having clean water and sanitation, and not having food. Now, I'm sharing this example with you because I'm helping individuals who could help themselves if they had the right tools and resources, but basically all they have is cell phones. They don't have any internet access. They don't have access to books. Literally, floods will wipe out their area from time to time. And then, of course, there's other political activities. So I'm talking to these 2 individuals and I'm tending to give them the same advice. So we're talking about clean water. Now, of course, they want me to give them money. Okay. I don't give people money. I don't give charities money. I don't give anybody money without getting something in return. And now that sounds selfish, but if money could solve the problems, then we would have solved the problems a long time ago because money is an easy thing to get. I know that might not fit your philosophy, but understand that there are enough charitable organizations. There's Heifer International. There's the UN. There's enough money floating around in the charitable world that if properly applied, or if they knew to apply it in certain areas, if money was the only thing, then it would solve all the problems. So I like Heifer International because they teach people how to solve their own problems and through free market systems build environments to solve those problems, but they don't provide the motivational and encouragement support necessary for individuals that are not already in their ecosystem. And so what does that mean? It means that these individuals that reached out to me, we couldn't find a local Heifer International group. We couldn't find a local aid organization. We couldn't find anybody that was there to help them. So they're going to have to help themselves. So what I did, because I was answering similar questions, is I put a call out to say, hey, look, If you're in this region and you'd like to solve these problems, then join this group. No charge. You join the group. We're going to solve these problems together. That is the first lesson. If you're trying to solve a problem by yourself, it'll be more difficult. You'll run into more obstacles and you'll have fewer resources to solve the problem. But if you can get like minded individuals together who want to solve the same problem, you can focus on these problems and solve them individually. And so I'm going to pull up the little session here, and I'm not showing this to anybody because, again, these are mastermind groups. You have to be able to trust the individuals, can communicate with each other, and to be vulnerable so that we can identify what problems need to be solved. So in this particular group, we talk about things like, for example, if you live near somebody in this group, become study partners. That's the fastest way to organize resources, to get strong implementation, and build community. Ask questions if you need help with this. Now, you might be saying, if we're solving water quality, we're solving food security, and we're solving sanitation related issues, and we're building a community, then this statement is basically saying, no, we're not going to send you money, but if you have a neighbor that has answers, you can start working together. That's not welcome in most cases, but it's necessary to get the results, because here's what happens. If you have 5 people in a room, they all might have ideas about clean water, for example. But of those 5 people, only one of them may have a solution in place, which could, of course, be a small water filter. It could be boiling water. It could be using iodine tablets. And I know these seem like simple examples, but this is what people face in the world today. The problems you have listening to this podcast are so insignificant compared to the basic functional problems that other people have, that you're even distracting or deluding yourself into believing that you've got things all together. The point I'm making is, if you have 5 people in a room and we're talking about clean water or any topic, the likelihood of one person in the room having some kind of solution that improves the situation is about 20%. And so if there's one person in the room and they can teach the other people in the room that solution, now the likelihood of implementing the solution goes up to almost 80%. Now, you can know something and still not implement it. That's a problem. But ultimately, by bringing the people together, they're able to share resources in the form of ideas, concepts, and education that can help solve primary problems that they face. Now, one of the things that happens when you don't have clean water and you don't have consistent food and you don't have good sanitation is that people get sick. And a sick mind has difficulty focusing their efforts or thinking clearly. And so by organizing people, you create a peer perspective, which allows you to better organize your thoughts, especially if the group is encouraging, especially if the group is open to sharing best practices and ideas, and then ultimately, not necessarily sharing resources, but identifying resources that can be favorably acquired. So, what else did we talk about? Well, one of the things that I can do that they cannot do, because all I have is cell phones, and these aren't even smartphones sometimes, so they can text back and forth on the Facebook. They can get on a Facebook app, or they can get on a Facebook proxy app, and we can ask questions and share information. But they can't just search the internet to find answers. So one of the things that I do is I search the internet for aid organizations, for courses and training materials. And by the way, this is aligned to my Prosperity Homestead. So this isn't extra work that I'm doing. I'm not doing this out of the goodness of my heart. I'm literally doing this because the methodologies that I teach in that session, or that peers in my other mastermind groups teach, can benefit these individuals. The difference is these individuals can't pay for the services. So we're kind of under the table helping them out in a way that makes them a strong community, because in the long run, they could pay for these resources, or at least through the challenges they face can help us organize information. I know that sounds completely heartless, but if each of these 10 members in this group look out for their own family's best interest and build strong families, they will be encouraging, they will be inspirational, and they will be um, a leader in their own community. These individuals are separated by like 20 kilometers each. And I've purposely sought out individuals who have resources in that group to kind of build that up. But here's what I do. I have internet access. I got 2 monitors, more than one computer. I've got really good internet access in the sense that I don't have to worry about a data plan. So I go out and find things. For example, a dairy, goat, and rabbit farming training. This training is going to be in their region. They would have no idea this was going to be in their region because they don't have internet access. And I basically post it on the forum, gather information, find out who the sponsors are, and start connecting these individuals. So there's a demonstration farm in their region that they would not have known of otherwise because they don't have cars, they just have cell phones. It takes they will walk 20 miles to go someplace or 20 kilometers to go someplace. Um, but they need to know that at the other end of that walk is something of value. And so what we're talking about here is in this particular topics is breeding goats, feed management, production, health and disease and control. Now, could I have taught them the topic of goats? No, I couldn't. I'm learning that myself for Prosperity Homestead. Um, their need has to be local. Could I send them money to get buses to go there? No, because that would get them to the training, but they don't have the money to buy goats or to buy rabbits. And so their basic need of food, of a high density calorie food, is not going to be met but they're going to have the information on how to solve it. And then they're going to be like most of the people on the internet, sitting around talking about ideas and concepts, but nobody's actually implementing anything. So I find the course for them, and there is one gentleman that is near enough to the course that he's going to go attend the course. And because he's a member of this group, he's now going to share his ideas and concepts as he builds up livestock in a breeding program for the benefit of this group. So what has this done? The mastermind concept has provided him ideas and concepts and information that would have been difficult to get otherwise. Now that he's able to utilize some of the information, it's improved his situation and made him now a producer. Because others in the same audience or mastermind want what he just got, he now has a built-in ready audience. Folks, you need to be taking notes on this because it doesn't matter whether it's building your business or finding a new job opportunity. Everything you want in life is available through the people around you and the world around you. But they have a selfish self-interest, which is fine. It's great. And if you're not satisfying that interest, then maybe you can satisfy that interest by being part of a mutually beneficial organization that helps them get what they want. So like Zig Ziglar said, you can have anything in life that you want if you help enough other people get what they want. Napoleon Hill talks about the Mastermind program where we can speak in confidence and discuss what people want and need. These individuals were embarrassed that 100 kilometers away, there are people eating steak every night and having good food and clean water, and they're in a village that literally has mud huts. Now, there's nothing wrong with mud huts. If you learn anything about natural building, they can actually be much more environmentally healthy and better, cooling and heating. But without food, it's miserable. With a three rocks oven, basically burning wood on the ground and eating out of clay pots, it's hard to maintain sanitation. One of the biggest challenges these individuals have is people using bush toilets. That means people are literally crapping in the woods near their house, and they have bore wells. And so every time it rains, people's crap washes into their bore well. People get sick. So again, it doesn't matter if you're starting from nothing or if you're starting from where you are today. You can achieve the outcomes and results that you're looking for by forming a private group or a mutual benefit organization or a mastermind. And we teach this at different levels, and I'll tell you about my other newsletters here shortly so that you understand at what levels this kind of thing works. But it works even if you're just getting started. So these individuals now know a course exists. 1 out of the 10 individuals can attend the course, and the homework assignment for this individual is to bring back what they learned and to breed animals. Now, what if this individual goes to the course, they come back and they say, look, I got my first breeding stock, but I don't have enough money to get the stock that I need. Well, now we can use contracts or other types of private business arrangements with individuals we trust to fund the animals that are necessary to set up the breeding stock. So the individual comes back and he says, look, I'm going to raise goats. I managed to get 2 goats and I'm going to need feed. I'm going to need this other stuff. Who would like to buy future value of my goats? See, we've gone from living in a mud hut starving with intestinal issues because we don't have clean water to now at least having meat calorie. And now the good thing about goats is that they can help clear land, and they can knock down trees and materials. Goats can work on a farm. Rabbits, for example, can make compost and other materials. They can convert plants that humans can't eat into compost and materials. We're able to start something of value because we've taken the time to bring people together. Another thing that we talked about, for example, I mentioned the 3 rock stove. There's a lot of lung irritation and respiratory issues associated with open burning. So I found a resource that's near one of these villages that actually has a stainless steel, which is basically like a rocket stove, and these run off of gas, but the same organization has stainless steel burners that will run off of wood or coal. And from that concept, I'm teaching how to make, and a couple of the guys have talked about indigenous methods to make a really good smokeless stove. So again, you can make a cob stove. It burns the wood at a high temperature. You're producing the minimal amount of smoke, and therefore children are not breathing the smoke. Adults are not breathing the smoke, and you have an efficient fire to cook on. Now, if you've got an efficient fire to cook on, you can also boil water to sterilize water and to make it good drinking and household water. Another factor we're talking about is water cans. There's jerry cans to store water. Now, again, if you're in a developed world, or you haven't had a major natural disaster, or you have a semi stable political system, then this is like the basics. But it's an example of how you can use the mastermind principle or the private benefit association principle in order to develop the resources you need, whether they're big resources or small resources. So let me wrap up, and I'll promise to talk about the 4 masterminds that we have. And this, of course, is not a pitch because these have qualifications. They're private groups. You have to qualify for the group. So the first one I mentioned is Prosperity Homestead, which has a free newsletter and free resources to help you with land management, to really help you get the best out of land. These individuals that I'm helping here, they actually have land. They have 3 acres, 4 acres, sometimes more. They need methodologies for sustainable and regenerative agriculture. So Prosperity Homestead helps them with that. The typical subscriber to Prosperity Homestead has hunting land. They own a small farm or homestead. And so that's that group. The next group is Inside Strategic Relations, that has topics like this. How do we organize people, and how do we organize resources to transform business relationships into profits? And so those folks are business owners and executives. And by the way, everything that I support outside of this special project that we're working on here is business owners and executives. It doesn't matter if they're learning about how to get better use out of land, how to get better use out of their business and their influence, or the Sustainable Wealth Secrets newsletter, how to get more out of their income as we transform it into net worth. And then the final newsletter is Ad Briefings Copywriting Tips, which helps them get more out of their words that sell, how to better communicate. Now, I've shared the 4 groups here because that's important to understand for 2 very important reasons. Your mastermind group has to be a certain type of people. So they have to be people that are willing to learn. They have to be people that are willing to implement. They have to be people that have means and resources. And you might be saying, well, Justin, you're helping these people that have literally live in villages and literally have no money, and you're implementing the same skills. Well, what they have is success stories as they implement. So because they're not fixated on the money, well, they are kind of fixated on the money because they ask me for money all the time. They are able to apply these principles just as well as somebody has money as a resource, because it's not the money that creates the success. The money is a byproduct or even a measure of success. It is not actually what creates the success. Otherwise, you wouldn't have Hewlett Packard started in somebody's garage. You, you wouldn't have a lot of these startups that start from literally nothing. So the way I see it, these individuals in a village who have taken the time and effort to work together as a group to solve basic problems in their community. And I'm not saying basic as in like easy to solve. These are difficult problems to solve, but they are fundamental to the health, well-being, and education of the individuals in their community. They have chosen the same leadership path that you could implement, whether you wanted to build wealth in a business, or you wanted to create influence and become a recognized expert, or you wanted to be able to write better so that you can persuade people at scale. This is extremely important to understand because whether you're in one of my other masterminds where there's people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, or you're in this little private group that I work with who makes zero, it's the same behavioral change that is made possible through a peer group that encourages you, that challenges you, that holds you accountable. Now, the mastermind groups, the reason I felt it was necessary to disclose the 4 mastermind groups that I've developed in my business is because as a strategic advisor, if you have problems you want to solve in those areas, you can pay to be a part of those groups if you qualify. And this is really important to understand. I am making these individuals who have nothing to give me pay to attend this mastermind. Now, are they paying financially? No, I just disclosed they don't have any money. Are they paying um, by giving me something like if I go there, I'm going to be a king in their nation? No, no, they don't have the resources for that. They are paying me by helping me organize ideas and concepts to understand what are the fundamentals that we need in desperate situations. So, as you know or may not know, I'm the author of the Hurricane Marketing System, which helps service contractors recover after a natural disaster, hurricane, tornado, flood. What is the most fundamental recovery element of any of those situations? Well, it's your sanitation, water, and food. If I go to the individuals who most need those things and figure out how they solve those problems, do you think that might be persuasive when it comes to showing people who have access to more resources how they can solve these core problems? See, that's the power of a mastermind. That's the power of reaching outside your comfort zone and investing in methodologies that are used in the real world to create and keep profitable customers. Are these people in my little secret mastermind over here customers? Not today, but it's my goal and sincere objective to help every one of them to not only be leaders in their community, but to be financially able to invest in my larger mastermind programs. And that's why the work I'm doing is aligned to Prosperity Homestead. So by no means are they qualified or do they have the money. They have the land, so technically they're qualified. But they couldn't afford $397 a month or even the $97 just to have access to the membership site. And by the way, these are drops in the bucket compared to the value and necessary for me to continue to hire people who write content, hire people who manage the website, hire people who create images, hire people that record podcasts, that kind of stuff. But the underlying factor here is it doesn't matter where you start. It matters where you end. And if you end at saying, woe is me, and why won't anybody help me? And if all I had was a few dollars, I'd be successful. You miss out on the powerful methodologies, the powerful approach, the powerful synergies that happen when you put a group of people together who have a mutual benefit, who have a desire for mutually similar outcomes, who encourage each other, who hold other people accountable, and who ultimately seek similar results. Now, I play my part because I have access to computers. I can go help them find information. Would it be helpful if I just sent them money? No. Again, if the money could solve the problem, then we'd all just print more money and then we'd all just solve the problems and we'd all live a wonderful life. Solving those problems is not going to get you to where you need to go if you don't have the skills that we've discussed here today. So, again, mastermind program or mutually beneficial organization. When we form companies, we're building a mutually beneficial organization. When we form masterminds or business partnerships or joint ventures, we do a lot of joint ventures here, we're doing beneficial relationships. Now, as in full disclosure, will I leverage this particular group who we're helping solve the fundamentals later in the charitable marketing system that we've talked about in the past? Because I actually have a charitable marketing system that teaches you how to use charitable organizations and foundations to grow your profit oriented business so that you can further help and extend the value of what you're doing. It's not quite the beneficial organization or a charitable organization. This really is about building your own wealth, but doing it by helping the maximum number of people. Will I use this private group to do that? Certainly. And I've disclosed to these individuals such. And that's why there's the alignment. If you willy nilly start building these groups, you're going to have a lot of great conversations, but you're not going to have the implementation. These groups naturally create limiting factors that focus your effort on a specific set of outcomes. I am literally working with these people, and then any of the media that I create is going straight into a newsletter product of which these folks have access to, but they are going to test it in the field. Will I hire some of these people to show the demonstration of their results or to share their success story? I certainly will. Inside the private group, we have pictures of children getting food. We have pictures of their fruit trees. We have stories about their interactions, and all of these examples may make it into the testimonials and examples of the paid platform. However, their individual success is more valuable than the money that I might receive. And that is the last lesson of the mastermind. Every member of that mastermind must get something far beyond the financial gain. It could be stronger relationships. It could be a satisfaction of success. It could be recognition in an environment where they're not going to be criticized. So, a lot of business owners, for example, like the recognition they get in our mastermind program because congratulating them on having $1 million in cash all of a sudden, their relatives and their peers will not appreciate that as much as we do. But again, we know the sacrifice they put into it. We know the methodologies that they put in. We've even learned from the best practices so that others in the group can use those best practices. And we're just acknowledging their implementation. We're acknowledging their success without any judgment. Because again, they set a goal, they had the support to achieve it, they achieved the goal, and then you know, their friends and family could just be toxic in that situation due to jealousy alone. So again, read Think and Grow Rich, specifically the Mastermind program. Understand that everything you want in life is actually already out there, and it is something that you can receive through the service of others. And then think about ways that you can do that service in your local community, in local nonprofit organizations. And I just happen to be involved with a nonprofit organization that helps with food insecurity and helps with clean water and helps with core survival skills. And so I want you to look for the mastermind opportunity that is well aligned to what you do. And don't feel guilty for supporting that because it benefits you beyond what it benefits the other people. But again, I want to drive for that mutual benefit. If I'm benefiting at a level of 10, I want to get everybody in that group at a level of 10, 11, 12, or more so that we again can continue the growth and we can continue the success. And then we can look back on the struggles we once had and know that they are behind us once and for all because we have the foundation that creates the results. It's a commitment of mine to support these individuals in ways that money will not buy. And the same as in the masterminds that I disclose that I own. And of course, the relationship. Because I understand the individuals in this group that I'm talking about, they may listen to this program, and I want them to understand the context. I want to understand that we're building people, we're building systems, we're building situations and environments, not just passing around money. Money is not the most important thing. I may talk about it a lot, but it's really not the most important thing. It's just a measure, it's a means of exchange. I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations. I hope this has been useful to you. If you want to share a little bit about your masterminds, I don't need to know the specifics, but we do have some programs on how to run mutually beneficial organizations, how to develop charitable and foundational organizations, and some of the benefits of that. So if you ask your questions at www.insidestrategicrelations.com, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions as you move forward on your journey. And again, it doesn't matter where you start out, it matters where you finish. And if you are surrounded by a group of people who can help you celebrate your successes, who can give you good quality advice, boy, it's really worth it. It's really worth it. I have a number of those groups that support my success, and it makes all the difference. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for being a part of the group that that's supporting my success by asking your questions and participating in my membership programs and really being a part of the strategic advisory that we have here. You can ask those questions at www.insidestrategicrelations.com. Go to the contact page, or you can go to the newsletter, or you can just read some of the past show notes around the podcast that we have. Again, I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next podcast.